Get my eraser. We should be working all right. Hello, I am Drew Badger, the English Fluency Guide and the founder of EnglishAnyone.com. And in this video, we're going to be not talking about English, or as basically learning it as a language. Although I do want to help you improve your fluency, but this should be an entertaining video. I really want to give actually people the chance to ask me questions that have nothing to do with learning English, because the things that you learn every day in your everyday life, even in your native language, are teaching you the language, like it could be English or your native language, without you having any kind of language lesson. And really the goal is to understand things, and that's how you become a fluent speaker. Now I wanted to make this video because people will occasionally ask me things that, that don't have anything necessarily to do with language learning, like like about whatever. It could be about my life or something. But, well, chimpoko. Garizono chimpoko, Maria. Maria tikitane. Yes, you could practice your English on this. But again, I want you to ask me something that has nothing to do with language learning. So it could be about life or whatever you're interested in. Obviously, I'll answer questions if people have them about learning languages. Because we do that a lot. I'm just smiling about this because it's kind of a funny topic, but I'm trying to encourage you because you don't really spend time talking about the language in real life. You just kind of use the language. And so if you can learn more examples. So an example for me recently, I was telling my email subscribers about this. So I was watching actually here on YouTube. This was just a video about Japanese people and relationships and dating. And there was some vocabulary used that I was like, oh, I didn't know you could use it for that situation. And so it was vocabulary I knew already, but my understanding of that deepened as I learned more about that and understood, oh, okay, I can also use this vocabulary in a different way. So I don't usually watch like language teaching lessons on YouTube, or, I don't take Japanese lessons either, but I get a lot just from the environment in the same way that a native speaker would be learning. And so I'd like to help you do that in this video too. So if you have questions you want to ask me about anything else, like it could be maybe the topics you talk about in your everyday life, like what you do for work and the kinds of things maybe you'd like help talking about. I'm from Brazil. Really? You're from Brazil? Amazing. Garizona Chimpo from Brazil. From Brazil. Ah, from Brazil. that Brazil. What's your name? Tell me your name. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Yes, we're getting started early. Actually, we're starting a little bit later today. I wanted to make this video and come on and just talk with people. Let me see here. Do you come to the USA often? I have not been back to the US in how many years? Like 3 or 4 years now, I think, that I have not been back to the United States. Fake this name, not old. I'm from Bali, Indonesia. I'm a civil and structural engineer. Fantastic. If you have questions about that, let me know. So I'd like to know how you use English, and that can help me in this video, but also for future videos, make better content for people, because I want you to really learn more kind of from the environment the same way that I'll be using it. ここはブラジル人が多いね。そうかな。いや、長屋にいるでしょ。違う。Nelson from Colombia, and let's see, good morning everyone. Hi from Brazil too. What? Lots of people from Brazil. And we got John Babu. Good morning or afternoon. Here it's 7:40 p.m. It is, what time is it here? It is 10:40 a.m. here in Japan. And Nils from Wisconsin. Nils is back. Nils, every time I hear that name, I remember Nils from Die Hard. Did you see Die Hard, the original Die Hard, the first one? So like Nils is one of the German, or I guess, I don't know where that, probably maybe Germany, I guess. So some kind of terrorist or something in that movie. and John McClane. So this is Bruce Willis' character. He's like, Nils is dead, Nils is dead. Anyway, I just remember that from the movie. I like the name though. I thought that was a cool name, Nils. No, you never seen Die Hard 1? Nils, how old are you? You should see Die Hard. It's an entertaining movie. Good morning from Thailand. Bobak from Niger. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to the UK to do a military course, and I'm very nervous. A military course? What do you mean a military course? Like training for your own military, but doing that in the UK? That's interesting. Mohammed from Colombia, 43 years old. Jose, let's see, Rojas Marin. I am also a structural engineer. That's interesting. I think I answered that one. Nils, you're 52 years old and you haven't seen Die Hard and you live in Wisconsin? I still watch your making carrot cake clips. Yes, that was funny. That was a friend of mine, Richard. He went back to the United States a few years ago. I hope he's doing well. I haven't spoken with him in a while. But he is, I think, probably doing pretty well. But yes, so he's in the video. You can hear and see that here on YouTube, where we're making a carrot cake. And having a lot of fun doing that. He's actually in a couple of the different lessons for Fluent for Life, and he's got a really great voice, so it's always interesting to learn a lot from him in the videos. All right, so again, if you guys have questions about anything unrelated to learning English, that would be that's a topic for this video. But we'll see. I'm sure people will come because these videos are always very loose. People come into the videos later. All right, so right now that was a perfect example of just like the content being loose. So I am loose. And so if you can get the meaning of that, like I am loose, I am free with the content. So in this video, we're not going to have a very structured video. I don't know how long I will go. Maybe if it's not entertaining for people, I will not go for very long. But I just wanted to come on and answer questions for people and help people talk about how they might be using their English in their everyday life. So if you have questions about like the kinds of things you do, I'd like to know more about that. So not just how you watch German television. Okay, let's see. I am from Brazil. I am a teacher. Hey, Rodrigo from Brazil. Been following you for many years now. Thanks for everything. It's my pleasure, Rodrigo. Let's see. From Bentonville, Leo there. First time. I love your teaching style. Glad to hear it. Hey, is light novels a good way to improve my language? Yep, sure. So if you want to improve learning more words or just like getting the kind of practice of reading better, then certainly that will help you. But I did a video a couple of months ago about a student who was telling me that she had been learning or reading more novels and watching more movies, but still wasn't becoming a more fluent speaker. And the problem was that she wasn't able to review that information. So, oh no, I'm like talking about language learning again. I knew this would happen. All right. So in her case, if you spend, let's say it takes like a week to learn some language or whatever, you're going to read a novel. Maybe you can read it quickly, but you don't have a lot of time. So you can spend like a whole week. So this is 1 week on one piece of content. And you could do that. It's okay if you do. But usually you will not go back and then review that information again. So if you read a novel and go back and try to read it a second time, that's a good idea. Or if you listen to the audio book, that's a good idea as well. So get a different format of it. Or you take something popular like, I don't know, The Hobbit or whatever, The Lord of the Rings or something, just so it's got different formats. So you could have the video version like a movie, and then the audio version and the text as well, like a novel. But the point is you should be able to review that information again. So if you can go through it quickly and you can still get review, then that will help you a lot. But typically, like, let's say you learn some new word in this novel. If you don't go back and review it again, it's going to be difficult for you to, you might hear that again in a different novel, but you need to get that review more quickly. So reviewing it again and again. All right. Let's see. We are talking about everything. Maybe we can fix the world. All right. Well, if you have a specific question, let me know. If you'd like to hear me talk about something other than English, other than learning English, because I spend a lot of time thinking about teaching. But in my everyday life, I'm just talking with my family about things, whatever that is, like how was school today, and talking with my kids about what they ate or what they would like to do, and that's how they learn the language. So we don't really have like language classes where they know nouns and verbs and all that stuff. They're just learning the language naturally. All right. English wa piece of cake dato omoita. Omoitai ne. Yes, if you can. できたらね。いや、わかるけどね。なんで英語で書いてないかな。ねえ、書きなさいよ、英語ね。Write some English. Practice your English over here. Stuart says, hello, teacher. I'm from Guatemala. Nice to see you there. Let's see, Edson, do you have a video about military vocabulary? In Fluent for Life, we do. We have a, what's the name of that lesson set? I think, well, there are two. There's one about police and then another one about military specifically. That was I had a conversation, I believe he's a war veteran. And so we had a whole conversation, and there's a whole lesson set teaching about military things like that. But I don't have anything like that on the YouTube channel. All right, Salima says, I have a problem reading, not the words or pronunciation, but understanding is very difficult for me. I have 3 bags of books at home, but I don't see any changes or improvements. Help me with this. Yes, Salima, so reading is also, that's a thing that I struggle with. So my ability to speak Japanese is much higher than my ability to read. I still struggle with reading even simple things, and now Aria, so my 7-year-old daughter, can like read better than I can. So I might know more kanji, so that I recognize more of the characters, but like her fluency is just at a higher level than mine. So I have to practice. And sometimes I will go through, I don't have it with me, but I have like the same content that she's learning in school. So I actually got the same like reading book, that same kind of stuff. And so I was going through that, and I noticed like I had to go back and read it many, many, many times. So I'll spend a week taking, again, like I give the example here, I don't just read something one time. I want to go back and review it again and again and again to make sure I really understand that thing. And so I can make a whole lesson for myself out of that content. The tricky thing here is that for most people, that's very boring. So it's very boring to try to review the same thing again and again. So what I usually do, and this is what I recommend to students, some people are in Fluent for Life and they have 10 hours or something every day to study, which is incredible. I don't know how they do that. But some people are just really like, they quit their job for, a few months or something just to improve their English so they can do something else. So they really want to focus on that. So if you have a lot of time, I recommend creating basically additional challenges for yourself. So you might take like a video or something like that. And this is the same way we structure Fluent for Life, but you would take some content like a book or whatever, and you would just read it first. Like the first challenge is just to read that book. The second challenge is to focus on a particular word and notice when that appears, like the word and or something. It doesn't matter what the word is, but it could be something that maybe you're struggling with. So for me, like when I'm reading some Japanese or something like that, I will go back and have a different challenge each time I read through the book. So that makes it more entertaining for me, and that way I don't feel less or feel bored while I'm reading. Because if you just try to read the same thing in the same way again and again, your brain gets very tired of that. So we want to make it interesting and fun, and so we create challenges that help us do that. So if you can think about that kind of thing, I would focus on the reading. You didn't tell me what your specific issue with like the fluency or whatever with reading is. For me, it's just recognizing the characters fast enough. Japanese is a little bit tricky, like the way the characters are without, like for young kids, because it doesn't have the Chinese characters in it. And so it looks like there's like one long string of stuff and you can't tell exactly what it means. It's a little bit funny. But the point is you create kind of challenges like this as you review the information again and again. And you will be surprised at how much more you learn just by focusing on something. So you might even take one page of information and just focus on that, all right? But create a new challenge each time you read something and you will find your fluency develop much more quickly. Stuart says, where are you from, teacher? What your name? Oh my goodness, you don't know my name. My name is Drew Badger, and I am the founder of EnglishAnyone.com. I am from Chicago in the United States, and I currently live in Nagasaki, Japan. All right. Let's see. I was running and I have been running in a practical situation, please. I was running and I have been running in a practical situation, please. You mean like physically running? So if you were out for a run, what's your question? Are you asking a different way to say that, or just the uses of those two grammar points? So if you are running, like right now I'm running, I'm just talking about like what I'm physically doing right now, but I can also talk about in general, like I'm running, like I like a friend of mine says, like, what do you do for fun? I might say, oh, I'm running. I could say I run also, but that means in general, something I'm doing, even if I'm not physically doing it right now. So the uses of that, yeah. So again, it depends on the situation. I talked about this in the previous video on the channel. So if you go back and watch the previous live video on the channel, I talked about this same idea of there are basically two different ways of learning languages. And so now I'm talking about the, let's see, make subtitles. Subtitles, please. Yes, subtitles. This is a live video, so Google is not live translating and giving subtitles for this content, but it usually takes about a day, and then the subtitles are available. So we have, again, English as a second language and English as a first language. So the English as a second language approach will say like have run, or have whatever, or have been running. And then they will begin with the vocabulary and then think about how to use that. But the English as a first language approach is thinking about the situation and then thinking, what do we say in that situation? So if right now I'm physically running, like I am running right now. I am running right now. I am running. Or even if I'm talking about how long, so let's say so this is right now, and I'm still running. I might go and talk about like how long I've been running for. So I have been running for 2 hours. I have been running for 2 hours, okay? But I can also talk about in my life generally. So I have been doing something, I have been running since I was 2 years old. Now that doesn't mean I'm actually running nonstop for that long. It just means I've been doing that like on and off. So sometimes yes and sometimes no, all right? So rather than trying to think about how we use this, look for specific situations where you want to say something, and then you'll learn the vocabulary for that, all right? So a good question for me would be, like, what do we say in this situation? What do we say when we're doing something? Okay, you got it, all right. But let me know. It'll be helpful for me, and it will be helpful for you. Because if you say, how do we use like the present continuous or some tense, whatever, I will say don't think about like the present continuous. Just like imagine it's happening, and we're still doing it. All right. So this is the same way a child would think about that. Like they're not thinking, what's the name for that? It's just when is it happening and what is happening, and then they think about it like that. All right. Okay, answered that question already. All right, would you talk about the leadership topic? I like a writer, his name is John Maxwell. Jose, I don't know that writer, but if you have a specific question about that, I'll mention briefly about leadership if you're just asking me like personally about that. Leadership, I'll make this very simple, again, just to hear like the vocabulary that you might use for talking about that. So for leadership, I like to think about it like a target, And rather than trying to lead other people, like you intentionally do that, you have to lead yourself to lead yourself. So you have to control what you're doing, control what you're thinking. It's like being like a parent in a house. So you have other people who are depending on you. So your children are like out here and they follow what you do, but who do you follow? So you have to lead yourself. So I don't know about this person, Maxwell, but if he's recommending something like this, which is what I recommend people do, instead of looking for other people to lead or looking for other people to follow, so you're not looking for like other people to lead or other people to follow, you're just kind of being able to lead yourself by thinking about what you feel is right or what you need to do for something. If you have more questions, though, let me know. Okay, let's see. Hello from India, says Hemant. I'm from Ethiopia. I like how you teach. There you go. Thank you so much for your help. Yep, you could say, I like how you teach. I like how you teach, or I like how you are teaching. Both of those are fine. Edwin says, hello from Costa Rica. And Rodrigo again, hey, some again, thank you. All right, I think we got those already. Can you share some tips when you talk about yourself? So if I'm speaking about myself, like explaining about something I want to do or talking about my hobbies or something like that, I guess it depends, again, on the specific situation. So the more specific you are in your comment, the more specific I can be. But I can be talking about the things I like to do, or the people I spend time with, or the things I'm interested in. So if it's like my focus or whatever, but those are some of the things, and that's some of the vocabulary I would use for that. All right, Sita says, hi, Drew. Thanks for the lesson about the. It's really useful because I know the rules about a and the, but I struggle with the pronunciation of it. Yep. So I'm listening to you in that lesson many times. Yeah. And again, it's like I gave that example before about reading a book. And so each time you watch some content, so some people will like watch an English lesson video or whatever on YouTube and just focus on the particular vocabulary that's taught. Like today's key words are these, but you really should be listening to the flow of the speaker. Like right now, the words that I'm saying right now they're really more important than the key phrase, because you can pay attention to how I'm speaking and in what situation I might be using different vocabulary. So the same thing here, excellent work if you're doing that. So if you watch that video about the, and you watch that a couple different times, like this time I'm going to listen, really just listen when the pronunciation is different. And you can hear I just used another example right in this video. So hear when the pronunciation is different. The pronunciation. So the pronunciation. The pronunciation. So the pronunciation is a lot easier to say than the pronunciation. The pronunciation. The pronunciation. But if I have a word like apple, the apple, the apple, the apple sounds a lot easier to say. The apple, the apple. All right, good question though. Let's see, Jose, what do you do? What I do for fun is learning about wines. Oh, very interesting. Yep. I have an exchange student who who stayed with my family from Chile. She's in the wine industry. All right. So notice I just made a connection there, like, oh, you like wine? I like wine too. Or I know somebody else who is interested in wine, that kind of thing. So you can always have something to say in a conversation if you're looking for connections between different things. So even if you personally don't care about wine, so you do, but maybe I don't drink, or maybe I do drink, or I don't know much about wine, I might ask you, oh, tell me more. Tell me more. I talked about this also in, what was that? It was like the 3 responses you can use to maintain the flow, so maintain a fluent conversation. And one of those is just like repeating back to the other person what they just said. So if you say, oh, I'm interested in wines, I say, oh, wines? Even if I just repeat that one word back to you, or I say, oh, interested in wines? Or I could ask for more information. What wines? Tell me more. Okay? So be thinking about these things generally as you're looking to improve your fluency. Let's see, say it again. Fossilized mistakes are really hard to get rid of. Indeed, yes. So a mistake that you've had, again, you have to retrain your brain. So usually what I'm doing, especially in Fluent for Life with learners, is like we have to, it's like a boat, like a giant ship, and we got to turn it around, make it go in a different direction. So it can't just flip immediately. The brain doesn't work like that. You have to make new connections and unlearn a lot of the things that stop you from communicating. Let's see, Jesmani, I guess. Jesmani. How to improve the listening skills from native speaker. Do we need to watch English series or without subtitles? Which is more efficient to improve English? Again, I would focus, number one, on the kinds of speakers that you need to understand. So if you work with a certain group of people, then that will be your number one focus. If you don't, if you just, it doesn't matter and you like American movies or something and you want to understand that, then focus on American English. But you need to understand the pronunciation, and again, Frederick is what we recommend most for that. For number one, learning the individual sounds of words, and then you start learning sounds and how words connect. And this is how natives are learning pronunciation as well. So usually when parents are teaching kids for the first time, so young children, they're teaching them things, they will just have maybe individual words like marker or bird or hand or something like that. And then you will start giving them more information and making the sentences longer. So you can kind of go through, like if you don't understand what adults are saying or you don't understand teenagers, then go down to a younger age and see if you can understand them. There are a couple different things you can do. Hopefully you can try those. But really, number one, again, focus on the particular English you need for your life, whatever that is, or those kinds of speakers. Let's see. Can you talk about some tips? Okay, I think I got that one. Is learning slang helpful? Sure. It depends on, again, like the answer to most of these questions is it depends. So slang is helpful for understanding, even if you don't use slang. Like you might not understand some movies or TV shows, but slang is really about being inside a particular group. So slang separates the people who are inside, like some young, boys in a teenage group versus some other group that uses different vocabulary for something like that. But you can learn a lot about that, but it's good to focus on the kinds of things you like watching. So if you're watching a movie or a TV show, whatever you're interested in, then you can focus on that slang or that vocabulary for those kinds of things. If you just learn slang generally, like some slang expressions, it's going to be less helpful for you. You should be focused on what you need for your life. So each person might have a different thing that they need. Some people might need slang, other people might not. So if you're in like a corporate, like a corporate boardroom all the time where you're speaking with executives, you probably don't need much slang. You just speak with people regularly. But you probably would like to learn phrasal verbs and idioms, other things like that will be used more frequently. All right. Salima says, how many words is enough a day to learn, do you think? I don't know. I don't have an answer about how many words you should learn, because some days you might learn many and other days you might learn one. It's not really the important thing is to make sure that the words you already know, you can use those fluently. If you can't use that vocabulary fluently, don't start learning more new information. So a lot of people make the mistake of they continue to learn more and more new words, but what they already know they can't use fluently. All right. So it's like if I don't know. It's like trying to build a building, but I only start the first floor of the building. So I have in mind, this is how tall the building should be, but I only make this one. So here's another building and another and another. I keep making these one-story buildings. They're not very strong. Maybe the wind comes and breaks the building or something, knocks it over. But if I stay with the building and really work on it, I'm going to have a very strong building that will last forever. And that's the goal for me for learning, and that's what I like to do for teaching as well, because I don't want to teach you something and then you just forget it. So the point is to help you remember things, and then that way you can use them fluently in a conversation. So don't worry about new vocabulary every day until the vocabulary you have already is already memorable for you. All right. So if you're learning well and you remember everything you learn, fantastic. Then move on to as many new words as you can. But don't feel like there's a specific number that you have to get. I'm not personally worried about that for my own my own learning. All right. Let's see, English with Village Guy. I'm from India, nice to see you there. I wanted to learn English. There you go. Miss, let's see, Howdahan. Nice learning. English with a bit. How to improve my actions. What do you mean? How to improve your actions about what? About life? Or what actions? Roger, I teach a greeting from Colombia. Nice to see you there, Jose. What is the difference between a lot and so much? A lot. I have a lot and so much. That's an interesting question. Let's look at some situations where we might use this. Okay, remember the ESL versus EFL approach to something. So when might we say so much? What was the example? It was so much. What was that again? Let me remember that. So a lot and so much. A lot. Now remember, I don't recommend you focus on vocabulary like this and learn it like this. But this is typically how learners are doing it, so we work with what we have. But think about really a situation when we use this, and then what you're trying to do, and a native will do this too. So I'll do this exactly how a native speaker that's not a teacher would explain this. So if you ask a native speaker, like, what's the difference between a lot and so much, they're going to begin with just situations and think, when do we use that? So let's say I have, here's like a plate of, a plate of spaghetti, some pasta on here. I say, oh, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. So I'm just talking about how much it is. So as a native speaker, I would say that's a lot of pasta. Or that's like, wow, that's like so much pasta. And here I could use either expression. So that's a lot of pasta, or a lot of spaghetti, or so much spaghetti. But you can, you will also hear these things when they're used in different situations. For example, let's say like so much. Or here, I'll give you even one more example of this one with like I love you. I love you a lot, and I love you so much. Like here, we're using these and they mean the same thing. But so much, like I could also use it. Let's see, what's a good example of like a difference between these? Like I do something so much that it hurts. And that's like a particular expression that we use. Like I do something a lot is usually just a phrase by itself. So I run a lot. That's it. I run a lot. And I'm not saying it's like hurtful or like bad for me or anything. I like to run. I do a lot of running. All right. I run a lot. But I run so much that something happens is usually a phrase. That's a way we would structure that sentence. All right. So if I just say like I run so much, and people would be waiting to hear like so much, like it's like a story and they're waiting for the conclusion. What's the story? Like I run so much my legs hurt. I run so much my legs hurt. All right. So here's an example of when these phrases might be slightly different. All right, so notice what I'm doing here. I'm trying to get you to think more like a native by thinking about the situation. So when we have, let's say, like I do something and then it creates like a different problem because I do it too much. All right, so much and too much would be the same thing. Like I do that like too much. All right, I smoke too much. I smoke too much. I smoke so much. I smoke so much that, I don't know, now I'm in the hospital. Okay? So rather than looking for just specific vocabulary and thinking like, what does this mean? You have to think, when do we use that vocabulary? Because usually the vocabulary doesn't mean anything by itself. It's always connected with some situation, okay? So this is also more memorable if you can learn it that way. Like in the example I gave at the beginning of this video about watching some Japanese, it was just like a show about dating and relationships, and the guy was asking some, like, what percentage of people, and so like the vocabulary, the situation was what percent, but he didn't use that vocabulary in Japanese that I expected him to use. He used something different, and I said, oh, that's interesting. There's a different way of saying percent, okay? So I understood from the situation, here's one way to say that, here's another way, maybe there are others. But that's how you learn it as a native, rather than trying to begin with the vocabulary itself, okay? I know it's a tricky idea. It's really the opposite of what you should be doing. The natural thing is to try to learn more words and then try to fit them into situations, all right? That's how it, like, because you've learned that way for many years, all right? But natives aren't doing that. They're beginning with the situation and then thinking about what words do I say. Like, what's the right thing to say to your wife or whatever? Like, what words can I use to express my love, or, whatever. So natives are beginning with the situation, and then they're thinking about the specific vocabulary they would use. All right, hopefully that makes sense. Thanks for your comments about the lesson about your work means a lot to me. Thanks again. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Hello, says Kevin, I'm new here. Sometimes I can't tell if someone is saying ask or asked. Could you show me how to pronounce asked? It depends on the situation, asked. So sometimes people, like, asked, you're not going to hear it very clearly. If you want to hear pronunciations like this, get Frederick, and you can click on the link in the description below this video to do that. So we go through like the different ways of saying ED words, and rather than just tell you what they are, like, you can hear and practice and train yourself with that vocabulary. But natives will often, it's the same thing with can and can't. So I can't do something. People will very, very rarely have the T in there, especially in American English. So we will say, yeah, I can't. And it's more looking at the total, the body language of the person. So if someone says, hey, can you come to my party? I say, yeah, I can. I can come. Even if I say it quickly and I barely say the word can, but they can tell from my tone, my expression, my body language, yeah, I can come. Or, no, I can't. All right. So without, like, just hearing the word by itself, you want to get more around the word. So the way people are expressing themselves. So about asked, it's the same thing. Like, a friend of mine asked me yesterday. So here, yesterday is where we know, okay, we're talking about the past. So even if I don't say a friend of mine asked me yesterday, I would just say it quickly. Yeah, my friend asked me. So it's the same thing. It actually sounds like it's just like ass. Yeah, my friend asked me. We don't even put the K in there. My friend asked me. You will rarely hear that. My friend asked me to do something. My friend asked me to do something. All right. Let's see here. I think. All right, Selena, do you think the ESL textbook is helpful, like Pathways? I don't know what Pathways is. I don't know that textbook, but I would imagine most textbooks, all the textbooks I have seen, I have not seen anything that teaches people the native way. So there's like good vocabulary in those books, but it's basically teaching you. You'll have a page of something, and it might, maybe, if it's all in English, that's great, but it usually doesn't give you enough naturally varied review. So you will learn something on one page, and then the next page is a completely different lesson. They don't really build on themselves very well. Again, you should be thinking about how you got fluent in your native language and then apply that to learning English. So if you, as a child, you were hearing many examples of vocabulary from teachers or friends or parents, and that's how you got fluent. So you don't want to like, and when you think about new vocabulary that you learn in your native language now, it's the same idea. So you'll hear something from many different places, and that's what makes it memorable. All right, see it again. Thanks for your comment. Okay, I think that's weird. It's showing me that again, or maybe I just get. Let's see. How do you keep a family together? Like handling egos. I think it's important, like number one, to be honest with people about what you want, but also have standards about what you expect, and then you have to lead yourself and expect of others what you would do. So I can't tell my kids to make their bed if I don't make my bed. All right, so I need to lead by example. That's a good expression, to lead by example, to lead by example. So if I'm doing something, there really isn't like, I don't know, it depends on what the situation is. If you're talking about egos, I certainly have my 4-year-old, Noelle, my younger daughter, very stubborn and will challenge me all the time on everything. And I'll say, all right, fine. You want to test me? Go ahead. And usually I will win. Because like she will take out a book or something, and I will say, okay, if we take the book out, we put the book back, and we have to teach her to do that. And sometimes she's just like, well, I don't want to put the book back. Like, okay, fine then. Then I'm not going to read it to you. So you have to kind of learn along with them, but show them and then praise them well, especially if you're talking about kids. After you've like shown them how to do something, but you have to be a good example yourself. Yeah, kids are very smart about hypocrisy, and that means like to be a hypocrite. If you don't know that word, it's like if you say one thing and then do the opposite. That can be a tricky thing. Kids are very smart about that. How has learning a new language yourself influenced the way you teach English? Well, it changed everything. Good question, Rodrigo. It changed everything about the way I learned, because even when I was learning, I would never have tried teaching a language to someone else because I was never able to speak a different language. And I think that's important. Like, just a lot of people also tell me that they're happy that I speak Japanese and I continue to learn the language as well. But yeah, it changed everything. Once I finally saw how to get fluent, I was very excited about that. I know being able to speak another language for me is like a very cool thing. It's kind of like, I don't know, like I can't play the guitar or something like that at a party, but if I can speak the language and I can impress people that way, then like that's just great for everyday life. So I know other people share that same feeling, and I know language learning is frustrating for a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be, and so that's why I do what I do. Let's see, Jose again. I need to hire you, Drew. You know a lot about structures, specifically there in Japan with the strong earthquakes. Well, I'm not a structural engineer. Don't hire me for that. I'm not focused on that. But you can definitely find some good structural engineers in Japan, I'm sure. Nagasaki itself is not really known for earthquakes, but Japan certainly is. All right, Ahmad says, let's tell us some channels will get American accents to improve our language. You mean like YouTube channels or whatever to watch on YouTube? Well, find whatever you're interested in. It doesn't, it's what are you interested in? I couldn't really tell people specific channels. I don't really watch a lot of content on YouTube. I'll watch maybe some video game stuff, like from when I was a kid or something, or maybe some, I don't know, videos about baseball or something. But look for content that's about things you are interested in. The accent is a little bit less important, but like the content, because if you don't like the content, then you won't want to watch it. So find something that you enjoy watching, and then you can look for more people with particular accents. So like, let's say I'm trying to learn Japanese and I like baseball, I will search on YouTube for different people talking about baseball in Japan. So if I want to do that, so it will take me a little bit of time. Maybe I can ask other people what channels they recommend, but maybe I have my own personal thing. So just look for things that you're interested in, and you can start doing the process that way. Let's see. All right. ChatGPT can replace teachers. What do you think? Yep, it's possible. I think ChatGPT will replace a lot of. I think if people, the problem is with Chat GPT is that people don't really know how to use it like a native speaker would use it to learn a language. And so if most teachers are not teaching correctly, like using the English as a first language method, I'm not really worried about Chat GPT replacing me. I could be replaced, who knows? I mean, I'm always working on different skills and trying to stay updated and learning new things. But I'm not so worried about that. Language is a pretty difficult thing to do for fluency, and I don't know. It'd be interesting. People who are using ChatGPT, maybe ask ChatGPT, if it knows like about how to learn English as a first language. And basically, what you would have to do to learn with ChatGPT, you would not only need chat, you would need voice, you would need video as well. But it would be possible to create something like that. But you would begin with situations and teach that way. So if I were designing a program, that's how I would do it. And like a lot of people will think, like they will go to ChatGPT and it's like, okay, give me 100 examples of, I don't know, the present progressive or something. And you can just like read through those examples, and if that's helping you speak fluently, great. But for a lot of people, that's not working so well. So obviously you need lots of examples, but it's not just the language itself. You need to hear different native speakers saying the same thing. You need to see it in different contexts. All these things create that network for your mind. So it's certainly easier to get information, but I haven't seen anything different about ChatGPT that Google couldn't do, other than, I mean, obviously it can kind of have a conversation with you, but the input that you get is the thing that gets you fluent. It's not really what you're typing back to ChatGPT. So if I were, again, creating something, I would make a system like that. And your other question, yes, I speak Japanese. And I'm continuing to learn Japanese, and every day I learn a little bit more, just like you guys. All right, so please, okay, I can answer that question. Alexander says, I like your methodology to teach based on situation. However, I have difficulty to find native situations. In order to make an organized way, what do you recommend for me? Many thanks. So this is what we do in Fluent for Life. We organized it all by like the grammar kind of topic, or the native speaker, or by the topic of the conversation for that. So the thing I was just recommending about baseball is you begin with what you're interested in, and then you want to chunk that information down into pieces. So if I like baseball as an example, I want to learn the vocabulary for that, and I might learn idioms for that particular thing. Or I might learn pronunciation or specific grammar points that occur frequently when talking about baseball or in a baseball game. And as I get those different pieces, that's the kind of situation I'm looking for. So you can go to YouTube, like right here on YouTube, and then just look for that specific information if you're doing this by yourself. So whatever you're interested in, you can focus on that. So if you like have a hobby, or whatever, you like making cakes, or you like raising pet chickens or something, whatever that thing is, you can find that information on YouTube and just watch people talking about that thing. All right, it's pretty easy. So the only tricky thing is, like, it's not really finding the content. It's more, it's just difficult when you're doing it by yourself to not have someone there to explain what a lot of stuff means. Because often you might watch a video about something and understand 50% of it. Rather than like 80 or 90% of it. So if you understand only half of that information, it will be more difficult for you, and you will feel kind of less confident as you're trying to learn by yourself. So try to look for something it's a thing you're interested in, but that also has a lot of understandable like content at your level, whatever your level of fluency is. You should understand at least 80 to 90% of that information. That way new stuff is easy to understand. Let's see. But hopefully maybe someone can hire me as a structural engineer if I lose my job to ChatGPT. We'll see what happens. Let's see, Arios. What does mean thread on social media? So a thread, just like a string, it's just the like the messages that are in a thread, they're connected to each other, and that's why we call that a thread. So a thread on social media. Let's see. Hey, Drew, how's it going, man? It's going well. Gio says, I like so much your channel. Best from Mexico. Thank you very much. Let's see. Joe Natas, can I use the present perfect tense with a specific time that has ended? For example, I don't study English anymore, but I want to say that. Is that the end of your question? Looks, I don't know if that's, if you're, I don't study English anymore, but I want to say that. I don't understand. But I mean, yeah, you could say I don't study English anymore. I don't do something anymore, if that's what you're asking. Please tell me the name of the movie. Maybe I know him. Die Hard. Die Hard. Nils is back. Die Hard. Very famous movie, but this is from like the when was that? Late 1980s, I think. All right. Okay, but that's a wink. See, I can't see the tiny comment wink on there. I can't tell if people are being like, okay, I think he's continuing, because can I use the present perfect tense with a specific time that is ended? See, this is why it's so confusing for people to try to think about grammar in this way. This is why when I teach, I want people to focus on situations. So I don't study English anymore, but I want to say that I have knowledge in English. I can say I have studied English. Yeah, you can say I have studied. You can say I have studied and I don't study anymore. But most people, like in a conversation, so again, the situation will be if you're talking about something you did in the past. Now, often, like if you're talking about language learning or learning a skill, so you begin, let's say, I don't know, this is like 10 years ago, and this is now. So I have learned English, or I have learned the guitar, or I have done something for 10 years. And typically people will think, okay, like I have done that for however long, and you're still doing it. So if you say I have done something, I am still doing it now. But you might, like for knowledge, like you learn a skill, maybe you don't practice anymore. You could say I have learned English for 10 years. Or like if you're talking about just the past, like I learned English for 5 years. So I learned English for 5 years, but I don't study anymore, and I forgot what I learned. Of course, we had an ambulance. I think there was a fire around here. I heard a fire siren earlier before the video. All right, hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's see how we're doing for time over here. Yeah, we got a little bit of time left. All right, I see your example is simple and clear. Thank you, bud. Glad to hear it. Julian, I see there. Hello, teacher. At what time did the transmission begin? Beaming down. Boop, 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 boop. The transmission began at, 52 minutes ago, whenever that was. So maybe 10:15 or something around there, my time. But again, these are unscheduled. I was already doing some work, and I thought, okay, let me hop on and just do a live video. So this one is less structured than what I usually do, but we always just end up asking like a lot of questions about stuff like this, and I just answer these questions. So this was supposed to be not so much about learning languages, but again, I want you to pay attention to just the way that I speak. If you just, without trying to look at specific vocabulary, is what does Drew do in this situation? What does he do when he's responding, or when I don't know, or when I'm thinking? Pay attention to these things. All right, Jonatas again, can I use the present perfect tense with a specific time that is ended? I don't study English anymore, but I want to say that I have knowledge in English. Can I say that I have studied English for 2 years? Yeah, it's fine. Leading by example, good. That came back to the leadership topic. Yeah, that's why I mentioned it. Let's see. Demi says, tomorrow I listen a song and it was the expression, what? Is that a quote in there? Two were that ball and chain. I'd like to know the meaning of it. And this is, so you might think of this as an idiom. Many years ago, and maybe people still use this today, but you might have like a prisoner. So this is, we'll put a little like prison hat on them. But a person who's in jail will have like a chain around their neck, or not their neck, a chain around their leg with like a ball on it like that. So you have a heavy weight and a chain connected to the, this guy will put on a foot, so the chain can't just slip off of his stick leg. But this means a physical ball and chain that's attached to someone, okay? So we get the physical idea like many idioms. In the same way we learn phrasal verbs like this. We begin with something physical. So I have a ball and chain around my ankle or around my leg. All right. So the idea is that it's restricting your freedom. I can't run away. I'm a criminal. I can't get away. I have no freedom because I have this heavy ball and chain on me. All right. Now we can take this physical idea and apply it to something about not having freedom. All right. That's just like the idea of that. We begin with the situation. So the situation is lacking freedom, or it could mean just like a heavy weight that you have that's like a burden, or like a trouble or something. Like, I don't know, like I have to take care of my dad's, I don't know, like he has an ant collection, so millions of ants, and I have to watch those ants every day. It's like a ball and chain around my leg. All right. So any time where you have no freedom, or there's just like a horrible thing that you don't want to deal with, so I would, you want to get rid of that ball and chain. That's what that means. All right, you guys are getting with the questions faster than I can ask these. Okay, can I understand Dr. House? Oh, can I understand Dr. House? Thanks. By you teaching. You can understand. Glad to hear you. All right, Drew, do you like baseball? What players do you like in Japan? I like the Astros here in the USA. I don't really like, I don't follow teams anymore like I used to when I was a kid. When I was young, I liked the White Sox, where I was from in Chicago, and I liked the Seattle Mariners. But I don't know who is popular or famous now. I know Shohei Ohtani because he's in Japan. And the Baseball Classic was out here not that long ago. Ahmed says, how about focusing grammar? Can improve my speaking? Yes, you should learn grammar, but you should learn it like a native, okay? So that's the kind of thing I'm doing here. If you listen, I'm using grammar right now, even if I don't have a specific lesson on, like, this is the specific, grammar point name or whatever. I try not to teach that stuff and try to get you to think more about, like, when would we use something? So when would we use something? Why would we use something? And that's, again, how natives would think about it. All right, thanks. I think from BR says, Daniel, let's see. Welcome to Real Life. Hope very much you will start teaching Japanese. There's lots of people already teaching Japanese. And even like if you watch content for natives, the content for kids is already available. But yeah, I don't know of anybody who teaches Japanese the way I do. I checked recently just to see, like people on YouTube teaching Japanese, and they're basically doing the same stuff the English teachers are doing. That's the same, basically the same kind of content. Julian again, I watch Peppa Pig every day to improve my listening skills. Yeah, Peppa Pig is great. There's a lot of high-level English in there as well. Uriel says again, thanks by YouTube. Now I understand English. Thanks to you very much. Yeah, it's my pleasure. What is the perfect present time in English? Google that. If you want to ask questions about like specific grammar point, if you are curious to know just like what is a grammar point, just Google that. You will get lots of examples. That's what ChatGPT is for. ChatGPT and Google. All right, can you cite some specific examples of question and responses when you ask, how's their day? Oh, well, you can just say, like, how's your day? What's up? How's it going? How have you been? How are things? There are lots of ways you can express that. And if someone asks you, depending on, just a casual response, you might say, oh, I'm doing fine. Nothing much. Same as usual. Nothing special. Nothing new. Again, if you pay attention, but that's a good way to think about it. That's correct. So the situation is a person greeting someone casually. Like if I just see someone on the street and maybe I don't like actually want to talk with them for a long time, I just like, hey, how's it going? And they say, yeah, doing well. And then, we just keep going. So there are different ways of of saying that. But if you look for more people, pay attention to that. Like if you're watching a movie, what do people say? Right now, I'm going to watch this movie and notice how people greet each other and just focus on that. All right, let's see. Rocky says, hi, I'm Hero. Nice to see you there. Jonas, thank you. That was really helpful. Glad to hear it. Anderson, this guy, Rock. You mean rocks, if you're talking about like this person is like good or quality or cool. Greetings from a Brazilian living in Houston. Glad to hear it. Just joined here, so I'll check the video later. Hello there. Good to see you in the real time. Yes, so right now live for the next few minutes anyway. Sorry for sending the same question several times. That was not intentional. It's okay. I thought maybe you were trying to repeat itself. Julian says the ball and chain is a metaphor image of a heavy iron ball attached to the prisoner's leg. Yeah. Yeah, and so ChatGPT, again, like it can tell you, it's like, ChatGPT, tell me what this means, all right? So ChatGPT can give you that, but I would love to see someone who like only used ChatGPT and became fluent. I suppose it's possible if you also have voice with that, but often the ChatGPT would be different than the way people would communicate normally. It would certainly be less clear, the regular English. Demi says, thank you so much. And let's see. G says, hi. And Disco Track says, a Nash. I don't know if that's a word or not. But anyway. All right. Well, this video is a semi-successful, I guess, where I'm trying to get people to think more just about the kinds of things they're interested in. And the English will flow naturally from that. So spend less time worrying about specific grammar points and think more about what should I say in this situation? And that's where you could ask ChatGPT, like ChatGPT would be helpful for that. Actually, you could say, ChatGPT, how do I express sadness, or what words could I use for? And the more specific you are, the more ChatGPT would probably give you a response for that. All right. But remember, just learning the vocabulary, like just hearing it or seeing it in ChatGPT would not be enough, most likely. You would need to see that and hear that from different speakers, and that would help you make it much more memorable. All right, last couple of questions over here. Either there, how do you think ChatGPT can help us improve our English? Armando just, right when you posted that. All right, well, I was answering that. There's your answer about ChatGPT. So ChatGPT can be helpful. Remember, you should be thinking about it more. Use it as a tool the same way a native would. So a native would be thinking like, what's the best way to say this? And then it will give you more examples about that thing. Okay? All right. So Drew, I really like the video that you did about the coffee, different situations. Yeah, so that's one thing you can do, and you can do that by yourself. So you can go to YouTube, you're on YouTube right now, and just look for, here's how to make whatever. Now the specific video clips that I used, I just found those because they were copyright free, but you can find even more videos about how to make espresso. And so you can find that and then just watch those. Again, the point of having a teacher like me is that I can explain to you what a lot of the vocabulary means. So highlight certain things, make it easier to understand. But it certainly is possible. So I get fluent in that way myself. And so like me learning Japanese, it took longer than me like teaching English to other people, because like I'm the teacher. I don't really have a teacher for learning Japanese, but I have to pay attention, and I get better at learning the native way every day. G says, I love your method. Glad to hear it. So remember, I know people call it like my method or whatever, but it's really just learning English as a first language. That's it. I need to come up with maybe like a better way to explain that, but that's really all I'm doing. Thank you so much. I love your example. Glad to hear it. ChatGPT is a WIP. I don't know what that means. It still makes work in progress, I'm guessing that means. It still makes a lot of silly mistakes. As far as I'm concerned, good thing is it's so polite and always apologizes and corrects itself. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, like the kind of robotics things that people can test. And ChatGPT is like very polite. It's got like political biases as well, which is really interesting. Like this English listening practice. Thank you. Look forward to more, says Kian, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. All right. Well, it looks like it's time for me to shut the party down. If there's any last questions, throw them in the chat box now, and I'll be like ChatGPT and give you an extra polite response. Hello, this is Drew. Thank you for using ChatGPT. Maybe I will be working for ChatGPT in the future. I'll be typing like, people ask me all these questions, but I can't respond fast enough. Well, I think that's it though. I'm going to give you to the count of 5, 4, 3. Nils, say something. Nils, somebody. All right, that's the end of it though. All right, well, thank you all. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully you all have enjoyed this. Remember, this is kind of more of a rambling video where I'm answering general questions, but the main idea of this video is that you should really be looking for the things you're interested in, and then let the language come to you as a result of that. So don't begin with the vocabulary. Think about the things that you're interested and bye. Yes, Nils. Thank you so much, Drew. Yes, it's my pleasure, and I hope you all have a fantastic day as well. If you'd like to learn more about improving your pronunciation, your grammar, all of these things, but doing it the natural way, just use the links in the description below this video, and I'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.